Becoming a doula is more than a career choice, it's a calling. But answering that calling starts with an important decision: finding the right training program. With so many options and factors like time, budget, and future goals, it's easy to feel stuck. So today, we'll break it all down, giving you the tools and clarity you need to take the first step with confidence and purpose. So, I'm Jariel. I am the host and creator of this podcast. I also happen to be a birth and overnight postpartum doula. I have been in this industry, in love with this industry in some sort of way since like 2014. I was a heavy lurker. And then fast forward to 2019 when I actually started to launch my doula business and serve my local community. And I've been at this ever since as a full time doula since about 2021. So I decided to start this series called Answer the Call: Launch Your Doula Career in 30 Days. And today is day 8 of our journey together. And today we are diving into the question that everyone has been asking, which is, how do you choose the right training program, right? So, in case you're new here to the series, I would love for you to go back and to listen to the first week of the series, days 1 through 7. If you don't have the time to go back and listen to them right now, day 1, we talked about committing first and just making the decision to move forward and to start, right? Start now in December versus waiting until January. We also on day 2 talked about your why and going 5 whys deep. On day 3, we talked about building your personal GPS and the 3 keys to building that GPS, which would be crafting your mission statement, your vision statement, and your core values. On day 4, we talked about types of birth work. On day 5, we talked about how to marry your experience, skills, gifts with the people who need your help the most. And then on day 6, we talked about a burnout proof business, and how to create that, one that allows room for you as a career person, your family, your hobbies, and everything that makes you you. And then yesterday, I talked about the Disney formula for building unshakable confidence, right? So week 1 was really all about clarity, it was all about confidence, and it was all about things that you can do in your personal life and in your mind, right? In managing your emotions to really stay anchored as you go along this journey. Now we're in week 2, and we are going to get into some tactical things, right? Into the like things that actually start to move you forward with grabbing this calling, right? Making your passion, your purpose, the thing that you do for a living, right? So let's talk about that today. So this episode is actually going to build on day 4 from last week. Day 4 of last week, we talked about types of birth work, and I went through about 11 or 12 different types of birth work for you to consider. You guys, for homework, wrote down your top 3, right? And so now we're going to narrow your top 3 list down to your top 2, right? So that's what we're going to do today. And I want to make a note before we dive into everything about training and certification, right? One thing that I want to tell you guys is that the doula industry is largely unregulated worldwide, right? Which means that there is not a big body that is governing how you become a doula, right? So there really are no rules that are stopping somebody from being a plumber today and a doula tomorrow, right? However, the rise in insurance companies and insurance supplements like Medicaid, and then also state level regulations to support Medicaid and supplemental companies with giving doula access to their clients, have caused us to see a change in the way that we have to show up if we want to participate and serve people. And so, for a lot of these pathways forward, you do have to have training and certification and be able to show that, right? So let's talk about the benefits of certification. I do think that if you are certified, it can be something that people see as credible and professional, right? You do have accountability, you have an organization behind you, backing you, and it does show that you took the time, energy, effort, commitment, and invested that into becoming a doula, right? It also, again, gives you access to serve Medicaid clients or clients with insurance supplements like Carrot, right? It also gives you an increased opportunity potentially to work with more companies, right? So you may see agencies or hospitals or nonprofits that want to work with doulas who have been certified, right? I will say too that some doulas take a path where they don't certify, right? And so when they don't certify, what they choose to do is just to serve clients in their community, locally or globally, right? They will take private payment from those clients. And those doulas say that the reason why they have not certified could be reasons like more flexibility to work independently and to keep their autonomy. There could be lower cost, right? And time commitment because they don't have to pay an organization upfront for training or maintain organization certification by paying monthly fees, right? They may also find that organizations don't really align with their core values, right? And so they feel like they don't want to certify with the organization that they trained with because they don't want to be affiliated with that organization once something comes out or they find something along the way that doesn't align with their goals or their values. And for some people, that works, right? I will say that for the purposes of this episode, I am assuming that if you're listening, then you do want to go through the certification process. You do want to go through the training process. You do want to be a trained and certified doula. Okay. Okay. So what you need, I feel like the best thing to have in your toolkit and some things to remember before you get started with training and certification is to have a budget, right? I do feel like we have to be honest that training is going to cost something, right? From the upfront cost to actually attend the training to the time you may have to take off work to travel to different trainings if you're going to go in person, to the materials that you purchase for the training, like a book, right? It might come with a handbook that you have to purchase, or even childcare, right? That you have to secure in order to be available for the 2 day up to 4 day training in person or virtually are all things to consider when you are thinking about training and certification, right? I think you too have to do an honest assessment about your capacity, right? Do you have the time to commit? Training and certification is a process and it can take months to complete. It can take weeks to complete. It really depends on you and what the training organization that you have chosen requires for you to do and what time you can commit to getting all of those things done that are on the checklist, right? For you to receive that certification, right? So I think it's good to set a deadline, right? Avoid procrastination by choosing a target date for starting your training and choosing a target date for being done, right? A lot of organizations too will set a time limit on you. So you need to be conscious about that too. Once you step into the part where you have decided to move forward with taking the training and have purchased whatever you need to purchase to complete the certification process, some organizations give you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You really need to be sure that you know what that time frame is and that you have that time to commit to being finished within that window. And this is a good time to have an accountability partner or doula partner. If you don't yet have this person, you may meet this person and be able to connect with this person at the training, but someone to support and encourage you along the way, to bounce things off of, to say, hey, how did you go about doing XYZ? Because I'm a little confused here. Working together will allow you to stay motivated, stay inspired, to problem solve as things come and to increase your likelihood of success, right? And I highly recommend having a checklist so you can stay organized about the steps that you need to take, right? Whether you're on the research phase, whether you're ready for enrollment, or whether you're completing the training and certification process, having a checklist will definitely keep you organized and make sure that you don't miss a step as you go through this process, right? Okay, so the first thing that we need to think about when we are talking about choosing your training program is what were the types of doula work that you identified that you wanted to do, right? So, who do you want to serve and how, right? And so we're thinking about, did I say I wanted to be a birth doula, a postpartum doula, fertility doula, right? So we're revisiting the type of birth work that we want to do and we're rethinking about who is the person who I can serve with this line of expertise, right? This one is going to surprise you guys, but for step two, I think you should pick a place to work. Let me explain. I think that so many doulas go through, they complete the training, they complete the certification process, and then they're like, I can't find any clients. I don't know who I'm supposed to serve. It's hard for me to get clients. And I think that by making that plan before you even pick a training organization would be the better way to do it, right? And by doing it this way, you will also be able to see a clear path sometimes as to what organizations are best. Sometimes it will narrow your huge, huge, huge list of places that you're considering, or it'll narrow that big list that Google or ChatGPT gives you for who you can train and certify with, right? Because if you want to work with a local doula agency and you reach out to them, they may say, hey, we only work with doulas who train with these two organizations or three organizations, or we are hosting a doula training and all of our doulas go through this doula training. So if you are interested in working here, this is the doula training that we, will take you through, right? If you want to do Medicaid, sometimes Medicaid will tell you, hey, these are the 4 organizations that we work with as a Medicaid company, or hey, as a Medicaid company, you can train with whoever you want to train with, and you'll also go through our supplemental training, right? So sometimes picking where you want to work can immediately narrow your options and just crystallize the best way to move forward and make sure that you're not thinking like, oh, I really want to work with this cool doula organization in my area that's a nonprofit. You go through, choose your own training, complete certification, go with your resume or letter of intent and go to apply. And they're like, oh, womp womp. We don't take that organization. These are the ones that we prefer. This is how we, train the people that are affiliated with our organization. And then you're like, oh, wow, I wish I would have known that at the beginning, right? So when I say pick a place to work, just thinking through agencies, it could also be maybe you want to work with insurance or insurance supplement companies so you can take insurance from clients. It could be local nonprofit organizations. It could be private clients, right? Locally or online, right? So just thinking through like, how do I see myself getting clients? Where do I see myself working? You can even look on things like Indeed, LinkedIn. This is a great place to have conversations and attend local doula meetups to hear how other doulas are getting clients, who they're working with, and who they recommend, right? How they're staying booked and busy. It could really give you a lot of insight. So do this research and do this sort of fillers up front. Okay. Depending on where you're located as well, you may find that there are state certifications or state regulations for doula support. So that's something else to look into. You may have to purchase a license or purchase a permit or something of that nature to be a doula in the state that you're in. I remember last year I saw something in the news about that in the state of like Pennsylvania in the US. I'm not sure if that's still valid or not at this very moment, but I do remember seeing that they had enacted something where you had to have some sort of permit in order to work as a doula in their state. And recently in the state of Ohio, where I live, Medicaid is now offering to pay for doula support in the state of Ohio. And so the Board of Nursing and Medicaid in Ohio has made some restrictions as far as who can call themselves a certified doula, what the process looks like to work with them, so on and so forth. So there could be things at a state level if you live in the US, maybe even globally. So check that out as well. Okay, so let's talk about budgeting and time a little bit more and what to look for here. So doula training can really cost a few hundred to like a few $1,000s. So you're looking at anywhere between like 800 or even like upwards to like 5,000, depending on what training and certification process you pick. The norm is really like around like 800 all the way up to like 2,500, right? That's sort of like the norm. Like most of the trainings will fall in that range, right? So again, you're looking at training fees, and sometimes that does require you to take additional classes, purchase additional materials like books. If you're a birth doula, you may have to take like the infant feeding course. You may have to take CPR, right? Or first aid. Things of that nature may also be required. If you're traveling or doing a training that is away from your home and you're in person, you may have to pay for lodging, food, transportation. Those sort of things are included, right, for you to think about when you're thinking about your budget. Also, too, I wanted to mention that if you are virtual, then this could alleviate some of those additional costs for sure. But with any training organization, you also want to look at, are there going to be yearly fees that I have to pay in order to stay current, in order to stay as a certified member once the initial payments have gone out? That's important to know, and important to know how much. If you are in healthcare or related field to birth work, go to your corporate employer and see if they are willing to pay for their training as part of your corporate education, right? And continuing education. That may be something that's available to you that I just wanted to bring up. So definitely check that out. Okay, let's talk about research and training organizations. And when you're doing your research, some of the things that you may want to look for, right? Not all training programs are created equal, right? So here are some things to consider. What is the training organization's core values that you can tell just from looking at their website, right? What are the types of trainings that the organization offers, right? Do they offer birth, postpartum, fertility, right? Death, the things that you said that you wanted to be certified and trained in, do they offer those, right? And what are the certification requirements, right? So, looking through what exactly do I have to do beyond training in order to become certified? So, training is the first step. That's where you get the initial information, right? And then certification is the continued process beyond training where you actually go deeper, right? So, you may have to read books and do book reports. You may have to attend additional classes. You may have to serve clients and get surveys back, right? So, certification could be a number of things that are required that you have to complete before you actually get a certification certificate from the organization, right? Okay. Next question to think about is, who is the trainer? What's their background? And based on what you can find, like, what is their vibe and their teaching style? Do you feel like you'll mesh well and be able to like really learn from this person, right? And what are the post training support, right? Because how many of us know that training is super exciting, we'll be excited, we'll have questions, but then as we start along the certification process, more questions will come up, right? And so do they offer Q&As that you can continue to go to as things come up? Are they responsive via email or text messages if things come up beyond training? Do they offer mentorship? Do they offer business guidance? What is the post training support? Where's the community? Who's going to be there to answer your questions? Okay. The other question is, do they offer business and marketing training? So, for a lot of us, we are getting clients, we're serving clients, we're collaborating, right, with different organizations. And so, we do have to, in some way, shape, or form, build a business and know how to market our business. And so, if you're new to business and you don't necessarily know how to build a business or how to market, will your doula training offer those things, or will you have to go elsewhere in order to get that, right? Next is, what are alumni saying, right? So go into some of the international Facebook groups with tens of thousands of doulas in them and actually click the little magnifying glass in the top right hand corner of the Facebook groups. Type in the organization's name and see what people have said about the organization. Are there raving reviews? Are there gripes, right? What are people saying online about this organization? And the other thing too is, same thing I mentioned earlier, just make sure that you know if there are any additional fees. We don't want you to be surprised, as well as what are you agreeing to as a member of this organization, right? What are you agreeing to do and what are you agreeing not to do, right? That's very important in making sure that that aligns with how you want to show up with your community. Okay, so next step is to pick your training. Okay, so choose your training, and if necessary, choose a secondary training, but y'all don't go wild and overtrain. Okay, it's so tempting to keep training and keep taking classes and to keep learning, especially in an industry where you feel like you're not an expert yet and like you don't have everything that you need to know yet. You feel like, I don't know what I need to know, so I need to know everything. And so I want to make sure that you guys don't get overwhelmed. It can be very tempting to keep learning and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning and thinking that I am learning all of these things to show up as my best, most knowledgeable self for clients, right? If you take a doula training, a birth doula training, and you go to childbirth education, you're taking an infant feeding class, you'll be like a step ahead of a lot of the first time parents who are stepping up, becoming parents, and they don't know, right, anything yet about babies. They don't know anything yet about childbirth. They don't know anything yet about pain management options, right? So you already know enough to support the people who you will serve, right? And so I don't want you guys to fall into the trap of overtraining and just continuing to buy trainings, buy trainings, buy trainings. You're certified and trained in 8 different things. You're giving clients a litany of options of what they can choose to buy from you. And they're just like, sis, you lost me at like number 3. I don't even remember all of the things that you do. Okay. So they're just totally overwhelmed. They won't make any decision because they don't know what it is exactly that you can help them with and what you do, because you're trying to do the everything in the kitchen sink approach, right? I went to Jungle Gyms for the first time over the weekend in Cincinnati, and it's an international store. Y'all, it's like the size of 8 Walmarts, and it's literally the everything in the kitchen sink store. And as great as it is, it can be very overwhelming when you are an anxious, person that's about to step into parenthood. You're not sure exactly what you need. You just know that you want to avoid the nightmare maternity experiences that you have heard from family and friends and coworkers around you. And then there's a doula that steps up and says that, hey, here's what I do, here's who I serve. And then a doula that steps up and says, I can do any of these 19 different things. It's like, I'm going to go with the person who's very clear, who's very concise, who has simplified it for me, and who I know what to expect from, right? So just something to think about, y'all. Avoid over investing, avoid over training, and make sure that you feel like you are really going deep, right, into the thing that you're training. You're really becoming well versed into the thing that you're training for before you move on to the next training, and making sure that you don't move on to the next training until there is some proof that that's what people actually want from you, right? Until you have served enough clients to notice, like all of my clients who I've served in the last 12 months or 24 months have gone through some sort of process where they went from me as a postpartum doula to an infant sleep consultant. Okay, well, maybe I can consider sleep consulting because I can have a longer relationship with my clients. Or all of my birth doula clients have hired a postpartum doula. Like, okay, well, maybe the next training I can do is postpartum doula support so I can have a longer relationship with my clients, right? So make sure you're making those kind of decisions when you're thinking about the next training to move on to, which is why I just want you to focus on your top 1, top 2 max. Okay. Okay. Next step is just to attend the training. So whether it's in person or virtual, I want you guys to be prepared by having all of your electronic devices charged and ready to go, having an email address and telephone number for a person who you can contact in case you do run into any emergencies or challenges the day or days of the training. Dressing comfortably, right? Because sometimes in doula trainings, you are getting up, you are using birth balls, you may even be practicing some pain management techniques and things. So make sure that you're dressing comfortably. Make sure that you bring things to take notes. Make sure you have water and snacks, and just make sure that you are as prepared and comfortable as you possibly can be. Over the time, you can even ask the trainer if there's anything that they advise that you bring, right? You may have to bring like a yoga mat, things like that. So just making sure you're prepared. Okay, so the next step would be just to complete the certification process. So after training, we want to make sure that we're continuing the momentum and excitement from those days that we spent in training, that we do make sure that we're aware of the deadline that we have to complete the certification requirements. We have a checklist of what those certification requirements are, and that if challenges arise, we can lean on an accountability partner, or we have a coach or a mentor in place for support, so we can, move past those things quickly, and that way we can get to the certification process faster, right? I actually hosted a doula training back in like the summer of 2022. It was a birth doula training. And I ended up mentoring one of the people who attended my training. I didn't want to mentor her at all. I was like, girl, I cannot mentor you. No, like, I don't know, like, what you expect from me. Like, I don't want to be, like responsible for you not certifying in a certain amount of time, right? Because I wasn't sure if that's exactly what she wanted, right? Mentorship to fast track her certification. But believe it or not, that is exactly what happened by us working together and partnering together as doulas and serving clients together. Y'all would never believe that she took the training in May and was certified by January of the following year. Had completed certification by January of the following year. She put in so much hard work, effort, energy into the certification process, and she absolutely listened to all of the advice and tips that I had gave her, and I helped her overcome the hurdle of clients and client consultations and all of those things. And so she literally was able to get everything that she needed to get done very swiftly in just a matter of months and start out the next year as a completely certified doula, which was so exciting to be a part of. And so those are the type of things that you can accomplish when you do lean into partnership, when you do hire a coach, and when you do have a plan and a clear idea of where you want to go, how you want to get there, and how quickly you want to do it, right? So, I think that a lot of times we need to overcome some of the common things that you may feel uncertain about when you're starting out. So let's talk about that. Some things that may come up that I know have came up for me as a brand new doula is like, what if I don't have the time? So when I started my doula career, I was also in corporate. So I would put time on my calendar where I would work on my certification. And so that's what I'm suggesting to you guys. Find times on your calendar where you can consistently work on your certification every single week, right? If you feel like you need more time, you can always reach out to the certification and training a person or committee or organization, whoever is in charge, and see if you can get more time and what that process look like. Things happen. We totally understand. If you need more time, then just ask for more time, right? A lot of times, too, when we're starting, we don't feel like we know enough, we don't feel good enough, and we're afraid of failing, right? And so I want you to know that when you're going through the training and certification process, it will build up your knowledge. It will help you build up your skill. It will also help you build your confidence, right? And by taking action in serving your clients and having your community alongside you who you can ask questions to, you can continue to reach out to your coach or mentor. That will also give you the confidence and clarity on things that arise that you don't really know what to do about. You'll make sure that you always have somebody who you can reach out to in order to move forward. Okay. So you may not feel ready, but it's okay to start before you're ready, right? Good things happen when you start before you're ready, and you start to feel ready the more action that you take, right? That's where the real growth happens, when you show up for your clients, when you start making an impact, when you trust yourself, when you take action, and when you embrace the journey one step at a time, right? So, for homework for today, I definitely want you guys to pick your top two areas of birth work that you want to pursue, right? Start to research some training organizations that you may kind of be feeling just based on like core values and based on the fact that they have the offerings that you need, right? Looking at the trainer, things of that nature, and start to really look for work, y'all. Okay. So start to look for the places that you can work in person or online, and start to see, are there virtual agencies available? Are there in person agencies available? Nonprofit organizations? Do I see myself just going solo and attracting my own clients to start with? Start to make those decisions about work, how you want to show up for work, and where you want to work as a doula. Okay, so that's where we'll stop for today. As far as all of the tips and coaching goes, I want to let you guys know that I do have a wait list open for my group coaching program that is launching in January. If you want to go even deeper on these 30 days that we're going over in December and continue the momentum, continue to get clear, and continue to take action in 2025, I would absolutely love to be your coach and have you be a part of our group coaching container. So go ahead and click the link in the description to join the wait list to get more information. And I'm so excited for you guys for completing the first week. I'm cheering for you. I know that you guys are going to make absolutely phenomenal doulas. And I am excited to see you guys tomorrow for day 9 of our 30-day challenge. Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye for now.